Guys, I have just witnessed one of the most amazing cricket matches I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot. We've come to the end of the World Cup. This is your final review. England beat New Zealand on a countback on boundaries. I've never seen anything like it. Yes, guys, we've come to the end of the World Cup, and what a great advert for cricket that final was. What a great advert for cricket this whole World Cup was. I mean, I could have started from the second game, where West Indies absolutely blew away Pakistan. We had Afghanistan, the bottom-ranked team in the competition, nearly turning over firm favourites, or one of the favourites, India. And we had that tight finish. The Carlos Brathwaite moment nearly revisited, but ended with a victory for New Zealand. And there's been so many ups, so many downs, so many shocks. Sri Lanka beating England to blow the tournament wide open. For a moment it looked like England wouldn't even get through to the semis. But here we are. England have won the World Cup. It's their first ever Cricket World Cup. They hosted the first three tournaments, got to the final, weren't able to win. They hosted it again in 1999, weren't able to win. 4 years ago over in Australia and New Zealand was arguably, if not for certain, their worst ever World Cup performance, being knocked out by then minnows Bangladesh in the group stages. But what a turnaround. 4 years is a long time. One might even say 2 years, because the England upturning fortune in this ODI 50 over format, it's no coincidence. They put work, they put plan, they've put strategies in place in their cricket, in their structure, to come to this moment. And you might just say everything fell into place. Like, we know you have to be lucky to win knockout competitions for in any sport. You have to be lucky. There's an element of luck. But then there's also an element of you making your own luck. England, this positive brand of cricket that they started playing, they're not the first team to do it, no, but it's a bit new to England. England were very traditional in the way they used to play their ODI cricket. And teams like the West Indies at times, Australia for a long period, South Africa, India, they stole a march on England in terms of how you play ODI cricket. And England have reinvented themselves to be able to match and surpass the best on this stage. And even though this final wasn't a testament to that strategy, the victory is a testament to that. The final itself, as I said, I've never seen anything like it. A tied game after 50 overs. A tied super over. A tied super over? Nah. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't actually believe it. But we'll start from the beginning. New Zealand won the toss. And we knew pretty much that win the toss back, get a score on the board, in a final especially, and make the opposition get those runs, put them under that pressure. Now for me, I said, for New Zealand to win, they had to bat first. If England batted first and England made, let's say 280, 300, no way New Zealand chasing that down. England, on the other hand, they're capable of chasing down many scores, a lot of scores. But for New Zealand to win, they had to bat first, get at least 250. I said 250 on the board, and basically do what they did against India, bowl England out. And New Zealand got the bowlers to do it. As a matter of fact, they did do it. They did bowl England out. But before that, they got to their 240 or 241. Guptill hasn't had a great tournament, and he started like he wanted to kind of right some wrongs. I think since the first game against Sri Lanka, which they won by 10 wickets, he hasn't done anything. He hasn't contributed anything. So he was like, you know what, this is my moment. And he started off on fire, actually. Fours, taking the attack, coming down the wicket, taking the attack to the England bowlers. But you might say it was one shot too many. I wouldn't... It's hard to say. It's hard to say. But he went looking for a big shot that maybe wasn't there, played across a straight one and got LBW to, it was Chris Wilkes. Now, it looked like he was going to walk off, but his partner, Nichols, told him to review it. And if I'm correct, Nichols had already reviewed a previous LBW shout, and it showed that the ball was going over. Told him to review it. It was plumb, hitting, or missing off, missing leg, hitting halfway up middle. And then New Zealand review was gone. That would prove very costly because later down the line, Ross Taylor, he was giving out LBW for a ball that was going over the top, but there was no review. Poor decision in my opinion. You could see that there should have been an element of doubt. You couldn't look at that and say that's definitely going to hit the stumps, based on especially what we had seen already in the game. For me, the umpiring throughout the tournament leaves a lot to be desired. But we're going to come a bit back to that umpiring a bit later. Nichols made 55 and he got out bowled by Liam Plunkett. I think he played on. Plunkett bowled very well as he does in those middle overs. He's taken the most wickets of any bowler in the last 4 years, since the last World Cup, in those 11 to 40 over period. And you know, he just puts on a length, cross seam, makes the ball very bounce, whether it bounces up, whether it stays a bit low, and then it gets a bit of movement off the seam as well. So it leaves a lot of questions in the batsman's mind about exactly what the ball's going to do, even if you see where it pitches. So he ended up getting Nichols to play on him. Nichols was playing well at the time, and England just kept chipping away. Little partnerships were building. Batsman innings just getting started and they get out. So in the end, you had Guptill 19, Nichols 55, Williamson 30, Taylor 57, Neesham 19, the Granholm 16. Everyone getting little starts. We had Latham 47, a good 47 from him. But none of them were able to go on. And you think if one of them were able to go on, they could have got to a score of 270, 280, which I said 280 match winning. 250 they can defend it. As it was, they got 240. You said it's game on, because the pitch wasn't easy. Definitely it was green, so you knew New Zealand were gonna get something at the surface. As I said, we saw what they did to India, defending at pretty much the same score. I think it was 242 they defended against India. And the pressure's on England. England go into the game as favourites. They're at home. They're chasing. Morgan actually said if it was overcast, I would have chased. If it was sunny, I would have batted. When New Zealand's in the started, it was overcast, so you assume that he would have bowled. And when England started batting, they started to come out. So it was playing into their favour. So the pressure was really on England. We saw that they blitzed a total of like 200 odd against Australia in the semi-finals, but this is going to be completely different. Roy and Best, though, they just weren't able to get into their groove. New Zealand didn't let them. New Zealand bowled that line and length, and for me, Bolt, who I was expected to take some wickets up front, I don't think he got any wickets in the end. No, he didn't. He was the one who disappointed me the most from New Zealand's point of view. And it was up to Ferguson and Mark Henry and even the Granholm, because of those seaman conditions, to do the damage. Now, the Granholm came on at first change. He had a brilliant spell in the end, 1 for 25 of 10. But he could have had Roy very, very early, an easy caught and bowled, which he put down, and you're thinking, those are, but this is a low total. those chances you need to take. You can't afford to be dropping catches. But as it was, it didn't cost them too much. Roy was out for 17, caught behind off late, off Henry. Bairstow was bowled by Ferguson, and just like England, New Zealand kept getting wickets. Now the difference between England and New Zealand got a lot of wickets at the top and a lot of wickets at the back. But arguably they never built that solid partnership. But they say there's more than one way to skin a cat. So you can either plod along, as New Zealand do, 20s, 30s, 40s, 20s, 30s, 40s. And England, bit of a collapse at the top, 86 for 4. Things were looking bleak. One wicket and you're into the tail. But that partnership between Stokes and Buttler, in the end, it was match winning. Now their partnership didn't win them that game, the 50-over game. But ultimately, that's why they are the champions. Stokes, another crucial 8. I think it's now 3 80 not out scores in the tournament. I think he had one against Sri Lanka, which should have been enough to win the game, but he kept losing wickets at the other end. Yeah, I think he had an 80 plus against... It was either South Africa or Pakistan. I can't remember. It was one of the first 2 games that they played. And then he got one in the final. And this was the match-winning 80. Because if he had got out, or even Buttler had got out, because his innings of 50, 59, that was as crucial. You knew if them two took it to the end, England would win. But the moment one went, with New Zealand's bowling, England could be bowled out. England were bowled out. So Ferguson got the wicket of Buttler, and New Zealand at that point they were always in the game, because even though the partnership was building 100, I think, and 110 it was in the end, they weren't scoring that quickly. They were staying within touch. The run rate wasn't going too high, but it was rising. 6, 7. It didn't ever reach 8. While them two were at the crease, but it was comfortably over 7 for a period. And then, not the panic set in, but they knew they had to get a move on. And when they tried to then get a move on, wickets fell. Buttler was out. Waltz came in. Waltz was out. Plunkett came in. Couple blows. He was out. Archer. And it came down to Stokes. Stokes had to win the game for England. And he's in this position again. 2016 T20 final. Ball in hand. The hopes of a nation rest on his shoulders. That time he buckled. This time he didn't. But he got lucky. He got very lucky. You make your own luck, but sometimes it's given to you. Sometimes you might say it's just written in the stars. So second to last over, hits the ball down the ground for 6. It's going for 6 or not. It's caught on the boundary by Trent Bolt. You think that right there is the game. I think they needed 20 odd at the time. That's the game. Finished. Very much similar to the Brathwaite Bolt moment when West Indies played New Zealand. When Bolt took that catch against Brathwaite, caught the ball, looked back, saw where the rope was, balanced himself, stayed within the boundaries. This time, it didn't seem like there was much self-awareness of exactly where he was. Maybe the pressure of the final got to him. He was more just thinking, I need to take this catch. Didn't realise where he was. He took the catch, tumbled backwards, and stepped on the rope. As he stepped on the rope, threw the ball up, and his other fielder came and caught the ball, but 6 runs. He stepped on the rope with the ball in hand, 6 runs. Lifeline for England, lifeline for Stokes. The game is still in the balance. They get to the last over, 15 needed off 6 balls. Advantage New Zealand, but England got a chance. 8 wickets down, England's got a chance. Dot ball. Stokes doesn't take the single. Dot ball, hit straight to the fielder. 15 needed off 4 balls. Trent Bolt bowling. Needs to get in the block hole. The first 2 balls are in the block hole. Third ball, just short of a Yorker. Boom, over the top. 6 runs. England in the game. 9 needed off 3. And you're sitting there like, he might do this. It's actually game on. Because 15 off 4 is a long ask. 9 off 3 is very feasible. You hit a 4, it's 5. You hit a 6, the game is yours, you would think. He hit a 6, but a crazy 6. And we found out later, it should never have been a 6. Ball is bowled, Stokes clubs it down to deep mid-wicket. Guptill picks up the ball, throws at the wicketkeeper's end as Stokes is completing the second run. Stokes dives in to save his wicket. The ball hits his bat, goes to the boundary. And in cricket, we know it counts as overthrows. That's 4 runs. Kumar Dharmasena, the umpire, reports 4 runs plus the 2 they ran, puts up his finger, 6 to the scorer. 6 runs. The most bizarre 6 you might ever see. We find out later that it should never have been 6. Because the law states if the batsmen haven't crossed when running before the act of throwing, and then the ball hits him and goes to the boundary, then the 4 runs plus any runs completed, i.e. before the batsman had crossed. When Guptill threw the ball from the deep, they'd only ran 1. The batsman had not yet crossed. So England should have had 5 and Rashid on strike. Umpires didn't go upstairs, they didn't check it. They assumed, I assume they know the rules. So they must have assumed that the batsman had crossed before the ball was thrown. 9 from 3 became 3 from 2. And you have to say at that point, advantage England. Of course, it only takes a couple balls to get a wicket. Or 1 ball to get a wicket, 2 balls to get 2. England 8 down, 2 balls to go. But 1-4, the game's over. 1-6 and it's ended in style. Ben Stokes. Ball is bowled, full, hit down the ground. Stokes knows he needs either 2 to tie or at least to get back on strike. Goes down to long off, throw comes in. And the throw comes in to Trent Bolt at the bowler's end. Mark Wood Adil Rashid nowhere in sight at all. But he runs out Rashid at the bowler's end, looks up and sees Stokes miles out at the striker's end. You might say if he had a bit more wits about him, he would have turned around, threw it to the keeper, ran out Stokes, which would have meant England needed 2 from 1, and it would have been Mark Wood on strike. But in the moment, you get the ball, you run out the wicket that is closest to you. Maybe the fielder fielding from deep who can see throws it to that end. He throws it to the far end and runs out Stokes. But maybe it's written in the stars. Maybe this is Stokes' moment. 2 from 1. Wood is in at the non-strikers end. England need 2 to win, 1 to tie. Stokes bounces down the ground again, takes off quickly for the single, as does Mark Wood. Of course, they know they need 2, so Mark Wood is gone, and he's running back, but it's too late. Run out at the non-strikers end, and it's a tie. And we're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this. How has it come to this? How has it... Who out there had a tie? Someone must have put a tie on. There's someone out there. How has it come to this? This World Cup has had everything. It's had rain, it's had sun, it's had sixes, it's had wickets. It's had brilliant umpire calls, it's had terrible umpire calls. It's had literally everything. And it's not over. We go to a super over. I'm not even sure if they tossed for it, but I assume, could be wrong, but I assume New Zealand won the toss if there was, because generally you want to chase in the super over because you know what you're aiming for. I'm just making this up as I go along. I don't actually know, but all I know is that England batted first. However it came to that, England batted first in the super over, and it's the 2 men who gave England the opportunity to win this, Butler and Stokes. They go out, 4, couple singles, another 4, 15 runs off the over. There was a little small celebration as Butler hit the fourth of the last ball of the super over, which took it from 11, of course, to 15. A small little jump and punch from Stokes, who he must have felt 15's enough. New Zealand needs 16 to win. And all the permutations are coming out now. If it's New Zealand needs 16 to win, 15 will be a tie. And if the super over's tied, the team who scored the most boundaries in the match wins. What? The team who scores the most boundaries in the match wins. When the hell did this rule come in? When the hell did this rule come in? The team that scores... Who said that the boundaries are the deciding factor? What smart pants came up with this? Now, I ain't saying boundaries aren't important, but how is, let's say, a 4 across the ground over the boundary worth more than 4 singles? Yes, you get off 1 ball, but if you score a boundary and then there's 3 dot balls and I score 4 singles, we both got 4 balls. Why is your boundary worth more than mine? Now, when I was growing up, it was a case of whoever lost the least wickets won the game. And for me, that makes sense because the contest is one against a bat and ball. Bowlers are trying to take wickets. Batsmen are trying to keep their wicket and score runs. If you can't be separated by runs, then you're separated by wickets. But no, you're separated by how you scored your runs. What? That don't even make... So if the boundaries were level, let's just say the boundaries were level, are you going to go then on 6s? You hit the most 6s. Say the 6s were level. Do you go on who hit the 6s further? Oh, I'm confused. How did this become a deciding factor? Imagine playing football and you draw after 90 minutes. You draw after extra time. Let's say you take 11 penalties and all of them are even after 11. You say, okay, we need another way to decide this. All right, who scored the goals from further out of the from the goal. So you scored from 30 yards, I scored from 25. Your one counts more because it was from further. Yet both of them are equal. What? Or let's say maybe, I don't know, I had more shots on target. I had 10 shots on target. You had 3. The score ended 3-3. But because I had 10 shots on target, I win. But why am I not rewarded for my efficiency? 3 shots, 3 goals. And you are punished for your profligacy. 10 shots, 3 goals. That's not a way to settle a contest. Because the aim of the game is not to have the most shots, if we're talking about football, or in cricket. The aim of the game is not to score the most boundaries. As a batsman, is to not get out and to score runs. As a bowler, is to take wickets and keep the runs down. So surely, the metric of decision should be between how many runs you scored or how many wickets you taken. It used to be. I just want to know who changed the rules and when this happened. Please, someone enlighten me. When did this happen? I don't know. Maybe it's a means to encourage attacking play, keep the fans excited. I don't know. But yeah, 6 is exciting, but also getting a wicket is exciting as well. Like, why are we favouring one over the other? I don't know. Yeah, someone needs to explain it to me, because it don't make no sense to me. But the point is, everyone knows the rules going into it. I don't like it. Some people didn't like the net run rate, whether it should be head-to-head. New Zealand maybe wouldn't be there if it was head-to-head. But everyone knew the rules going into the tournament. Everyone knew the rules going into the match. Everyone knew the rules going into the Super Over. So that's the rules you play by. And New Zealand, the game was in their hands. I think they got a couple twos early. Then at 6, they needed, what, 7? 7 or 4. They hit a 6 and then they hit 7 or 4. And you thought, this might be it. Archer, best bowler for England. Not on the day, but in general. Inexperienced. He's a newbie to international cricket. They've given him this task of bowling this Super Over. Has he bowled a Super Over before? There's people out there who have. Walks, Plunkett, experienced players bowled at the different international level for years. They've given it to Archer. They've trusted him. Bajan-born Archer. The Caribbean hope. He couldn't make it up. 7 or 4. New Zealand get 2. 5 or 3. New Zealand get another 2. 3 off 2. We're in a very similar situation to England. Oh, sorry, no, I think there was a wide. The wide was the first ball, sorry. Then they get a single. 3 off 2 becomes 2 off 1. New Zealand know they need 2. England know they only need to save 1. Now there was a fumble in the outfield before that allowed New Zealand to get home easily for the 2 in the end. England know that no fumbles can take place now. Archer knows he can't miss his length. Guptill knows that the game is there for him to win. He ain't had a good tournament, but if he wins it for New Zealand now, he's a hero forever. Archer runs up. The nation watches. Yorker, just outside the leg stump. I looked at it and thought, that could have been a wide. But Guptill had moved across to his left stump to make room. Good ball, good Yorker from Archer. Guptill digs it out to deep mid-wicket. The chase is on. Guptill takes his first single, Roy's running in, turns back for his second. The throw comes in, it's not directly at the stumps. Guptill's running with everything he has, takes the leap to dive in to his crease. But by then, Butler's gathered it and whipped off the bails. I say whipped off the bails. He's actually clattered into the stumps. And right there, ladies and gentlemen, the World Cup was won. You see the elation from England and despair from New Zealand. One could easily argue that no one deserved to lose that game. And you'd be hard pushed to disagree with that. No one deserved. They tied the 50 over game. They tied the super over. Yet one team's lost and the other's won. Sport can be so cruel, yet so joyful at the same time. And you have to say congratulations to England. Commiseration, New Zealand. Some say you didn't deserve to be in the semi-finals. Nobody gave you hope against India. After that, they had to respect you for that final against England. But even then, they stood say you were the underdogs. And if not for an umpiring error, the title may have been yours. You could have etched your name onto that trophy for the first time ever. But in sport, these things happen, and there can only be one winner, and there can only be one champion. And the reality is, England are Cricket World Cup champions 2019. That's it from me, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a great Cricket World Cup. A pleasure to interact with all of you, all your comments on YouTube and on Twitter. I'm going to be back very soon, because we've got 2 massive series coming up in August. It's the Ashes, England versus Australia, and of course, my beloved West Indies. We host India in the Caribbean, Chris Gale's final swan song. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you soon.